Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's D Ramirez here. Today we're talking about something absolutely essential for dance music. Techno, tech house, progressive, pretty much anything that needs tension and energy, creating massive build-ups. I'm going to walk you through the key elements that make a build-up actually work. The movement, the tension, the energy, and the psychology behind it. And then I'll show you how I put all of it together inside the DAW. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we are back in Ableton. I'm going to play you a build-up that I've created. I'm just going to play you a bit before and then the drop itself. And then we're going to get into the technical details of how it was done. So here we go. Before we get technical, it's important to understand why build-ups are so powerful. A build-up is basically controlled tension. You're creating movement, raising energy, removing some of the groove, removing grounding, breaking patterns, and to force the listener to anticipate what comes next. The anticipation is what makes the drop hit. So everything we do, automation, filtering, effects risers, drums, is aimed at creating that feeling of we're going somewhere, something's going to happen. Okay, so let's get into how I created this. You can see on the screen here that I've actually got everything running. Now, I've took the liberty of coloring these white so you can see that this is actually the breakdown. This is the drop here. It just sort of gives me some visual cue. I'm just going to take you through some basic sort of ways of how I do it. Remember, this is how I do it. There are thousands of ways of doing it. You may have got a completely different way, but this is the way that I've developed over the years of working on music production and in particular working on breakdowns. Okay, so you can see here that everything is running. Nothing stops, right? All of the drums keep going, okay? So how do I do this? Well, I use the busing system. And the busing system means that I can then send all of my parts, which I like to keep in the arrangement, by the way, I can send them to these buses. I've got here, in this instance, I've got a drum bus, a bass bus, and a synth bus. Let's start with the drums, and I'm going to show you what I've put on the drum bus here. I'm going to solo it, and then I'm going to look at the drum bus, okay? So on the drum bus, we've got on top of everything else. So the drum group is where I'm doing all of the processing. The drum group gets sent to the drum bus. You can see that. And then on the drum bus, I've got two essential processors here. The first one is I've got the high and low filter rack. Now, I'm going to leave this for you. Anybody that visits the Raven Studios website can get this preset for Ableton. Okay. I will also show you how to make this preset in the full course on the Raven website. Now, what we've got here, we've got a macro setup. I've got a low pass filter and a high pass filter on the drum bus. Okay, and I've set it so these knobs control both. But when these knobs are up here like this, it turns off the filters. Okay, when they're down at the bottom, look, the filters turn off. Okay, so let's put that back there like that. So that is the first thing we're going to do. We're going to filter the drums. If I solo this drum groove here, we'll see. Look at that. There's filtering. The next thing we've got here, I've got this one called the D Ramirez wash rack. And this wash rack is where I put a chain effect. Now, I won't go into too much detail about what chain effects are, but essentially what we've got here, we've got the dry signal, that's the unaffected signal running through this, but then I've got a reverb chain and I've got a delay chain. And what I can simply do is automate the level. And you'll see that if I put this here, you'll see that I can automate the level of the reverb and the delay without turning down the dry signal. All right. So look at this. You can see here that. So what I'm doing, and then I'm automating the low pass, which basically takes away the highs, and the high pass here, which takes away the lows. Confusing, I know. But then as I'm automating it sort of slightly up, I'm actually adding a reverb. I'm automating the reverb level here and the delay level on top of the dry signal as it filters to create this wash. And listen to the effect of it. Okay, and why is that so effective? Well, the dry chain remains unaffected. So then I've got total control of the dry chain. Okay. Also as well, the reverb can be automated off very quickly, on and off like that. You can do it with reverb send effects and returns, but it just means you have to go over here to do it. It's a whole bunch of different sort of automation lanes. I just like to do it on the bus. I'm old school. I come from using a program like Logic where everything was done on buses. So I think I've just brought that with me. Old habits die hard. If you've got better ways of doing it, let me know. So yeah, that's my drum bus. Now, I do the same here on the synth bus. I've sent all of the synths to a similar bus, and I've got the same thing on the synth bus. You can see here I've got the same high and low filter rack, and I've got the same wash rack. Now, these wash racks are essentially like, the infinite plug-in by Toolroom or the endless smile. I'm just creating my own wash rack. And let's just have a listen to what this sounds like on the synth bus. Now, all of the things in blue are sent through this bus, and that means I can automate them all together through the bus. So everything's getting very washy, everything's getting very small. I'm filtering, and when I start there, I can actually turn the filter of everything down. So listen. Everything starts very low in filter, but then the same thing happens. The filter starts to rise a little bit, open up. The low end gets taken out even more. The reverb level there gets added, automated over time. You can do so much with this. You can automate the decay of the reverb so it gets super, super washy. Sounds like it's in a massive cathedral, and then bang, it snaps down to dry. Let's listen to that in context. Now, why does that work? Well, it works because there's a contrast. We're creating a contrast between sections. If you have a section that just goes super wet, as in with reverb, and you start to add lots of reverb to something, and then you snap it back to dry, that creates a moment. Why does it create a moment? Well, reverb tends to do a lot of different things. It makes everything sound a little bit cloudy. It pushes it back into the mix like that. It makes everything sort of, if you've got a longer decay, it can make it sound like it's in a bowl of soup. So it becomes all like mushy. You lose cohesion of all of the sounds. It just becomes a little bit, what's going on here? Everything gets sort of, blurred. And then if you snap it back to dry, that creates a moment. That contrast is what creates that, from wet to dry. So that's what we're creating there. Same with the drums. We're going from wet, we're going from filtered, which sort of sets it back in the mix like that. It goes from being like that in your face all the way back. So it gets filtered. We then start to add reverb, and we start to add some delay. It gets all sort of mushy like a soup, and then bang, when you snap it back with all the filters off and with all of the effects off, it's in. It's like that. And it's such a moment like that. So it's really easy to do because it means then you can just leave all of the drums running if you want to, but just filter them. Look at that. The drums don't come out. The drums stay in. So it means that I can just sort of when it comes to arrangement, I'm not worried about, shall I just leave the kick drum in or shall I leave that in or whatever. This method enables me to just leave the drums running. And we get this in context. All right. Now, guess what? We've got the same with the bass bus. On the bass bus here, you'll note that we've got the same thing. Bass bus is there. This time I've just got the filters, right? And you can see here, if I solo this, I'm taking out the high pass and then the low pass as well. Let's do that one. I'm just taking out the low end. So let's listen to that in its own. It goes from here. Right, so we take the low end out, and the low end gets taken out a little bit more towards the very end of the drop, where it almost disappears. Take a listen. Listen to that, gone, and then bang, bang, you're in. Okay, so that's a really easy one. So I use a bass bus to do that. Okay, now the next thing I'm looking at here, there's a couple of things I want to show you. There's on the main master output, look, I've got some automation going on here. I've got a utility plugin. And what I'm doing is I'm bringing the mix into mono, right? Just before the drop. So everything goes from being super wide to super mono. And then when it drops, it's back to stereo, okay? And that creates another moment. Listen to this. So let's listen. And you can see the automation there. The stereo width is being automated. So it's getting into the middle. You probably won't hear this on a phone, unfortunately. It goes into the middle. Now, if you're listening on headphones, that'll be quite a profound effect. Everything suddenly sucks in like that, and then bang, comes out. All right? And then the next thing I'm showing you as well is on the same utility plugin, I'm also automating the gain. Over that 8-bar period there, you can see that it comes down to -2. Now, that can come down as far as you want. It can come down, but I'm bringing the volume of the master output down by 2 dBs. Again, so when it drops, you've got that raising volume, you've got the stereo width that comes back, you've got all the reverb that stops, you've got the filtering that stops, and then boom, you create that moment, okay? So it's all about this sort of tension of, oh God, something's going to happen here, but it's growing and getting swampy without overtaking the drop. That's the main thing that we've got to think about here. So again, listen to this. The volume will come down. Okay, so what we want to do, we've got to make sure that when we create a build-up, we want that tension. We want that feeling of it's going somewhere. We want that feeling of it's growing and rising and getting bigger. We want people to raise their arms on the dance floor when it's going, oh, the feeling that something's going to come. They know it. They close their eyes like that and they're like, oh, it's coming, it's coming. And then bang, you're going to punch the friend when it drops. Ugh, like that. Okay, so that we're creating that. Now, this is sort of a deep house track, dare I say it. So why would you think, do we need these kind of big drops in deep house tracks? Of course, it can be done to various different levels. All of these processes can be done to the extreme or to the minimal, okay? Now, I want to show you something else what we've got here. Now, a friend of mine has made a plugin. I've got to say, I'm not sponsored by him, by the way. I just want to show off his plugin. It's called Calm Before the Storm. And if I open it up here, you'll see it. This attempts to do all of those things that I've just showed you. What it does here, you've got this lever. And when you bring this lever down, what it does, it brings down the frequency, the filter of the low cut, it brings down the high cut, and it also adds some wash, and it also brings down the width. And all of this is controllable, right? So listen to what this one does. This is a section over here, Calm Before the Storm. Listen to this. So we've got it set up quite subtly, but let's have a listen. So there you go. That's a really easy way of doing it. My friend has figured out that, we've got at least sort of 10 processes there that it's doing. It's doing the low cut, the high cut. 1, 2, it's doing a bit of a wash. 3, it's doing the volume. It's bringing the volume down. 4, it's bringing down the width. It's bringing up the resonance of the filters. So you've got around about 10 processes happening with this one lever, which is very clever. Now, of course, that's the sort of lazy approach of doing it, which is great. I'm going to use both. You know, you may prefer to do it all manually like I'm doing it there, where you've got a little bit more control over everything. But I just wanted to show you that plugin because I was really impressed when he sent it to me. Yeah. Now, okay, there you go. That is my way of creating very quick build-up and drops. And that's how I create massive build-ups, tension, movement, automation, effects, groove manipulation, and that final moment of release right before the drop. Now, if you want more in-depth, deep dive tutorials like this, make sure you're subscribed and you can get access to the full course along with more advanced production training over at theravenstudios.com. All right, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.